This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello, and welcome to Have a Chat. My name is Judy Loge. I'm your host for today's show. I'm joined by my beautiful and talented co-host, Veronique Arsenault.
So glad to be here with you on Monday, Judy.
I always am. And to our viewers, we just want to say that normally we do a little quick chat, as you know, those of you who follow us on a regular basis. We do lighthearted things, talk about community events. We have kids on that might be talking about sports and all of that. But sometimes we have to have those really hard, open, really true life conversations, and they're not the easiest to talk about, but we think it's very important to have a show every now and then that does reach out to you viewers who might be going through some very difficult times. And we've had this topic on before, and it's that of loss, of grief, love, loss, and grief all combined. And it's been very powerful to touch those out there because we never know who is going to need this support, okay? So we thought today we'd bring on a guest, actually 3 guests, our first one being Mitchell Linkletter, who is going to join us very soon. And we're going to talk about loss, in particularly the loss of a child, which would be unbelievable to any of us who has not walked that walk. And in the meantime, I always ask Veronique, or she asks me to bring a quote, and she's touched on one that she passed by me that was absolutely on point.
Well, and of course, you know, thinking about today's show, and it's an emotional one, definitely an emotional subject for sure, but we want to have that conversation, as you said, but the quote centers around that. So, deep grief sometimes is almost like a specific location, a coordinate on a map of time. When you are standing in that forest of sorrow, you cannot imagine that you could ever find your way to a better place. But if someone can assure you that they themselves have stood in that same place and now have moved on, sometimes this will bring hope. Elizabeth Gilbert.
How perfect. You chose a perfect one for today's topic.
Well, I can't even imagine, and you know, trying to find that hope, I'm sure, must be almost impossible. But if you can, you know, have organizations like the one we're going to talk about and the people that we are going to meet today, might be able to bring a bit of that.
Absolutely. So viewers, again, welcome our first guest, a first-time guest on this show, Mitchell Linkletter.
Hello.
And welcome. Tell us, I know you a little bit, but for the viewers, more about yourself personally.
Well, I am Mitchell Linkletter. I was born here in Miramichi, just up the road. I lived in Newcastle all my life, raised by 2 parents, Marjorie and Gordon, and attended the St. Mary's Roman Catholic Church. Had a wonderful experience at that church. And yes, I'm the youngest of 5.
Okay.
I'm the baby in the family.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's who I am. I'm married to my wife Shannon for now. I better get this right.
For now. He's married for now.
For now. 36 years it's been.
Oh
So
my.
Yeah.
we've been married 36 years.
Beautiful.
And had 3 children.
Yes.
And
She's beautiful.
yeah.
You're a good
Yeah,
team.
she's a beautiful.
Really strong couple. Yeah.
So we realized that you lost your precious son at the age of 19, so 10 years ago. Tell us about Kenton.
Well, Kenton, again, is our baby. He was our baby in the family. And he was delivered very quickly. And his delivery, I missed the delivery. And I was only a block away, but I didn't get there on time, and he slid right out. And that was part of his personality. He was always quick.
Yeah.
Very quick, energetic, full of life, and loved sports. And yes, so he was with us for 19 years. We had very little information about him and like his life, where it's like he wasn't he was normal, but there was some small hints that there was some mental illness taking place in his life.
Yep.
So we grew up, and then when at the age of 19 he did take his life, it really blindsided both his wife and or my wife and I. Yeah, we were blindsided by it.
That would be the hardest. If you know that your loved one, your child, or whomever we're talking about that we love in our life is struggling, and we see some signs but we're not quite aware, you would be totally and absolutely shocked. So there's trauma involved. And there's no question that the trauma would affect you and will affect you for the rest of your life. What my friend said what had happened to her child was that it was so raw that it was beyond, there was not a word to describe it beyond raw, there wasn't a stronger word. So she just said over time, you kind of learn to live with it in a less raw way. Raw grows less raw and that. But we don't want to make you emotional, because there'd be nothing more emotional to talk about than the loss of a child. But we do want to talk about the beautiful group that's been formed. Last year, Darlene Summers, who was on our show.
Yes, she was.
And Les Ginnish, who jumped on board with her. Both parents who have lost a child, they decided that there was nothing more needed in the area than a support group. And they called it the beautiful name, Brave Hearts, because you and the others are such brave hearts to be able to talk about the loss, share the loss with others, and be here today to share it with us. And so it's a support group. And to take it further than that, we want you to tell us a little bit more about it. You and your wife Shannon have become part of it. But what has the Braveheart journey been for you, Mitchell?
Well, Braveheart sort of came to us in an unusual way. Darlene contacted us last year, just a few months from now, like a year ago. And she just said, "Can you speak?" And both Shannon and I were like, yes and no.
Yeah.
We don't really want to talk. We have spoke at our church. Both Shannon and I have spoke, but we're like, no, we don't really want to do it. So we prayed about it, and it was a connection. We said, okay, let's go do it. We've spoken now 3 times. Each time is very difficult. It's not, brings up a lot of emotions, anxieties, things that you sort of relive the trauma and the tragedy that we went through. And then the aftermath. After we speak, there's some aftermaths that take place that we're back. You would feel a little bit like you got set back a little bit, and you would think, oh, I'm going to do this again. I'm not going to do it again. I don't want to do it again. But we continued. The first few, we just, our brains, my brain especially, was trying to decide, well, why does this work? That's what my brain was saying. How does bringing people together to talk about their loss and their journey, because that's what it's all about, my personal journey, how would that help anybody? I couldn't fathom it. So we went into the first one and spoke about our journey. Shannon and I spoke, and it did help.
Good.
But my brain was still saying, why? Why does this help? Why does sharing in this manner help? So then we went into the next one. When we got to the next one, another sort of realization was that, I got up the second time I can remember, and I said, I'm sharing. You're sharing my pain, is what I said to the group that was in front of us. You're sharing my pain. I said, sorry, and not sorry, because it is helping me. I'm getting lighter in the pain. So that happened in the second one. And then the third one, like my brain is still trying to fathom why this works. What's this have to do with anything? Like, how does it work so that people get help, myself and the other people? Everybody gets help. So at the end of that one, that session, that 2-day session in Braveheart, a gentleman in the audience, he heard us speak, and then he had written down something. He wrote it down, and I'm like, that's it. He's like summarized what exactly this is doing. And it is, he said that the pain is concentrated and it gets diluted with sharing.
Okay.
And when he said those words, I'm like, I got it. I'm like, woo, I got it. I got the idea, I know.
Yeah.
And the idea was the concentrated pain in loss of a child. It's so concentrated. I put my hand here because I know that feeling. And I know the people that are watching, the ones that have lost a child, they know the pain. It's like concentrated pain. It only gets diluted when you share with other people that know your pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, at that point, I realized that it was a lesson in empathy, not sympathy. And I realized that the people in front of me, the ones we were sharing with in this group, that they know some of my pain, and it diluted the pain and brought healing
Good.
for me and for the people in front of me. So it was like amazing, just an amazing, and an object lesson that won't leave me. Like I just know now that it works. It works. That's how it works.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And I guess maybe, you know, and I will never know how you feel, but I guess maybe in that sharing, as you said, with those that maybe understand from their own perspective, because they've lost a child as well, that you are sharing a bit of it, and that it's not only yours.
Exactly. They're sharing it. You're just diluting,
Yeah,
and it goes away.
that's incredible.
Has it grown then because of your speaking and people feeling that you're reaching them? Like it might take 10 times for them to come and say, okay, I'm ready now to speak. And I think what I'm hearing from Mitchell is hitting my heart in the right way, that I'm diluting and do you find that Brave Hearts, their mission was to bring everyone together that's experiencing the same horrendous experience? Do you find it's a group that, you know, you're getting more people to join?
Well, that's one of the special things that has taken place. And we're setting up to do another event on the 24th and 25th of February. And the special happening is that we've had repeats.
Yeah.
They've come back. So it's like, okay, I got it. They just didn't come, they got help and they left. They keep coming back. We have people that is becoming like family. That we're like family to the group, and we know them, and they've heard our story, we've heard their story. We have shared their pain, and they are getting help.
Yeah.
It's a connection, right,
That's a
to them
connection.
and to you.
Searching for some peace.
Yeah.
Searching for a way to grow forward, right?
Yeah, but it must have been, I guess it must have been a bit overwhelming though, to get up in front of strangers, you know, to share that most personal part of you.
Yes, it's not easy. I mean, this program here is not easy also.
No.
It's sort of a foreign medium, but that's why my brain was trying to figure out, well, how does this work? How does it help people? Like, I know it's helped me, and I know it helped other people, but how does it work? And I realized that it comes from the word empathy.
Right.
Only with empathy.
Which cannot be misused with sympathy.
No.
Because it's such a, you can't walk the walk. I could never, unless I had lost my child, compare my heart and your experience, you know, to what he's gone through.
Absolutely.
So only those who have been exactly in your shoes, everyone's got a different story though.
Well,
You
Judy,
know.
you mentioned something in our chat before, like the phone call, and it's true. We realized during the time of Kenton's passing, we had a funeral and a wake and all those things, and our house was full. You said something that I picked up on, and it's true, that when you go to visit someone and you do not know their grief, it's best not to say anything.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's how I've learned to do. I'm sorry is,
Be
of course
careful.
we're sorry, but sorry is so shallow because it's just two words that's not going to even come close to trying to take your pain away. It's just,
Yeah.
well, of course we're sorry, but just sit and be, right? Sit and
Yeah.
be and hug.
Yeah.
Hug
Exactly.
and hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about the anniversary weekend that's coming up this weekend for or not this weekend in February for Brave Hearts and their members. Is you had mentioned, is it the 24th and 25th?
Oh, the
Yeah.
24th and 25th,
Yeah.
we're doing another event. It's being hosted at 150 Pleasant Street, which is just down on the other street,
Okay.
at the old Uptown Theater. That's how I usually say it.
Oh yeah.
It's the building has been offered to us, so we're using it. A great location. One of the other things that takes place with this, I know I'm way over my time probably talking, but
We're okay.
anyway,
We have a couple of minutes.
the event is very hard to go the first time.
Okay.
My wife and I were going into the first event, walking down the corridor at the Travel Lodge, and we're like, could we leave? And then we realized, oh, we can't leave, we're speaking.
Oh yeah.
We have to go, we're on the thing. Oh my life. We're like, it's very difficult to get there the first time, but very rewarding.
Yeah.
And you
Very
had
rewarding.
each other to lean on because you both went through this together. You've been married for so long. You're best friends. You
Yes.
can hold each other through this, right? Thank
Yes.
God for your partner and your beautiful wife.
Yes.
So what is the address again? 150 Pleasant Street?
150 Pleasant.
So anyone can just come.
Yeah.
Do they have
It's
to
the
pay a
old-
fee or anything? It's just
To connect to the event, it's in Facebook.
Okay.
You just search up Braveheart and join the group. You have to
Right.
join.
Yes.
It's a private group, but you join, and then you there is. Once you're in there, you'll see that there's a registration of $25, a very nominal fee of
Yes.
$25, and yeah, you come.
Encourage,
join.
you're encouraging me. Like what you're saying, what I'm taking home is it was so extremely difficult for you to make those steps, and even the second time and the third time. And so it's not going to be easy for anyone watching, but like Mitchell said, come and feel embraced, and you'll know that you have someone that's going exactly through what you've been going through, and you can relate to. And I want to thank you. You've done the hardest thing in the world today to come on and talk about that, the loss of a child, and you did it. And who wants to talk about that? Nobody does. But at the same time, we want to honor Kenton and your you know,
provide support to those
yeah,
out
your
there.
support for all those. So thank you for coming today, Mitchell. We have done our part with you, and don't go far, folks. We have more guests coming back to talk. So thank you. Tune back in.
Are you low on food? Struggling to pay the bills? Overwhelmed by life's challenges? When you need support but don't know where to turn, just dial 211. 211 connects you to the programs or services near you.
211, how can I help you?
211. Help starts here.
Our ancestors came here from France to build a better life. We lived here happily for generations. Until the British decided they wanted our land. The men were called to a meeting and then imprisoned. They demanded we swear an oath to their king and took everything. regardless. We were forced from Acadie, the only home we knew. Mais l'Acadie n'existera plus.
From 1755 to 1763, over 10,000 Acadians were ripped from their homeland. Despite this, Acadian culture endures in Atlantic Canada.
Hello and welcome back to Have a Chat. If you're just joining us, I'm your host for today's show, Judy Loge, and I'm always excited to bring on set with me or me be with her, Veronique Arsenault.
So happy to be here with you
Yes,
today, Judy.
yes, on this wonderful Monday in Miramichi at the Rogers Studio. We've been having a very open and very deep conversation on an emotional topic, which is the one of grief. And this show particularly pertains to grieving the loss of a child. And we just had Mitchell Linkletter on, who shared all about his journey through his loss. Well, not all of it, but he touched on the very important group of Brave Hearts, which is a support group. And so we want people to be aware that there is other people out there. There are other people out there walking your walk, as he said, empathizing. So we brought two more beautiful guests on to share their story, Christina and Larry Adams, and they have also lost a beautiful daughter. And so before we continue on with this conversation, just tell us each a little bit about yourself, starting with you, Christina.
Okay. My name is Christine Adams. I was born in Camilton, but I was raised in the Matapedia Valley. We've been married for 46 years. We have two beautiful daughters.
Yeah.
Trina was our oldest. Rachel was our baby. Mm-hmm. I have two sisters and a brother. Mm-hmm. And we moved here in '85.
Okay, well, you're true Miramichiers.
Yes.
Larry?
Well, I was born and brought up in Hamilton, and like I said, we moved here in '85. But
Mm-hmm.
I had 5 brothers. 3 are gone. 1 has disappeared, and when we moved here, it was a whole change for us, and it was amazing. By the time, like from the stuff that happened here,
Yeah.
it's been great.
Yeah.
Like my family background is nothing to brag about. I've had ups and downs like everybody else. But
But you have grandchildren.
yes, 2, Gage and Ryland.
Love the names.
I'm sure they keep you busy.
Gage plays football, and they call him the bus.
I love the name.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Let's go, Gage.
he's a big boy.
Yeah.
And Ryland's more into computers and stuff like that. But,
Yeah.
So they're the bright lights. Like
Yeah.
children just do that, right? They just bring so much joy.
Yes.
And like Mitchell, I'm the baby of the family, so you gotta love me.
Yes.
That's right. That's how that goes.
Of course. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
And thank you for coming on our show, and thank
you
you
for
for
having
being
us.
friends to our show to actually tell Veronique and I, the viewers, a little bit about what has gone on in your life that, you know, we just don't know from day to day, right, what's going to take place in any of our homes, in any of our lives, of any one of our loved ones. So you've experienced the worst of the worst. But you want to know more?
Yeah. So Christina, I guess, as we've said a couple of times now, we just can't even imagine how difficult it would have been to lose your daughter. So talk to us a bit about Rachel and some of her challenges and the visits to the specialist, all those kinds of
Okay.
things.
Rachel was born in December the 7th in 1981. She was born. At first, I didn't notice anything, but the grocery store lady, she noticed it. She had lumps in the palm of her hand. And what it was is we just let it go until one day I was going to church and I asked one of the surgeons that was at the church, I said to him, I said, do you know what this would be? And he said, well, no, I don't know until I do surgery. And he said, I can do surgery in 6 months. And I said, well, no, she's kind of young for surgery, 6 months. So he said, okay. He said, let's do it in a year. So I said, okay. So he took her to surgery. This was in Camilton. He did it in Camilton, and then he sent it to Halifax. And this is when the word came back from Halifax that she had neurofibromatosis.
Okay.
It's von Reckinghouse disease, or it is something like the elephant man disease,
Okay,
but
yes.
it's not as bad as the elephant man
Right,
disease.
right.
Rare,
Man
Christina,
had-
wouldn't it be rare? Fairly
Rare, it is a rare disease, yes.
And how old was she then?
Well, that was when she was, well, let's see, she would have been, she wasn't going to school, so she would have been 4 or 5.
Quite young, yeah?
Yeah.
Quite young?
Yeah.
Okay.
So lumps on the palms of her hand,
Hand.
any other significant?
She had a dark hand.
A
It was
dark
just a dark, her
color.
hand was darker than the other one.
Okay.
So that was part of the diseased marking of it.
Okay.
So,
but was not very severe on the outward
no,
appearance.
no, just the hand.
Okay.
That
And
was
so
just
once he did the surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and you found out what she had,
Yeah.
what was then that medical journey like after that?
Well, they did the surgery on the hand, and then we found out what it was, but it really didn't happen until she was later on. We were living here in the Miramichi then. She was going for x-rays through her body, and she was always complaining about a sore back. So we said, well, we'll take you, get x-rays, see what they say. Anyway, so what it is, they did x-rays and they found out she had scoliosis of her spine. So then we let it go a little bit longer. Then I said, well, I'm going to call the Shriners and see if the Shriners would send us to Montreal to see if what could be done. Because if she had to have surgery, then Montreal would be the best place to have it. So anyway, we went to Montreal and found out she had scoliosis. We came home every 6 months to a year. We go back, we have more x-rays. And then when she was 9, they found out she had deteriorated in her neck. So from the C1 to the 4, it was deteriorating away. So that November, they called us and told us it was time to come to have surgery. So we went up and had surgery.
Wow.
So much for you, not just you, but your little girl.
Yeah.
To see any child go through that much at their age, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then,
So they had the surgery that was at the Montreal Children's Hospital, because they don't do that at the Shriners.
Okay.
So it was done at the Montreal Children's Hospital. We were there for a while, and then we were brought back to the Shriners Hospital. We were there 3.5 months in Montreal without our family, just Rachel and I. But we had family. The family at Shriners were like family too.
They say
because-
that they are wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people say that's
Yeah.
such a fantastic organization.
Makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Sure do.
So, and then that was fine. We kept going on, and then she complained about sore arm and all that. And then when she was 11 years old, they found that one bone in her arm was growing and the other one stopped growing. So they did surgery. They fused the bone, put a steel brace in, and she came home.
Wow.
What a
and
lot.
She dealt with it every day she went to school.
Like a real trooper. I knew
Yeah.
her. I knew her because her best friend Julia was one of my favorite all-time babysitters.
Mm-hmm.
Larry, walk us to, okay, so that's a heavy load of medical issues
Yeah.
you as a mom had to deal with, and
Yeah.
Larry trying to be home and looking after the home, and you in Montreal, and then going to her later years where she had to actually go to school, middle school to high school. What was that like for her as far as, she had these obvious, things that on her body?
She was teased a lot and she was bullied. 'Cause every night she came home, like her glasses were full of tears. And that went through all through school. But when we found out about the cancer, things sort of changed because like the people here were so welcoming with arms open, and if there was anything that we needed, they were right there.
Yeah.
Rachel went to the prom. Like before she went to the prom, the doctor told us in April that she wouldn't make it to her graduation, and I promised her she would. Sunday, they put her in palliative care, and this was the week of the prom.
Wow.
So Monday night, they let her out, and we took her to the prom, and the queen of the prom came over and gave Rachel her sash and the
Oh, I
crown.
remember that, you know.
And the whole place was just bawling, just crying like you wouldn't believe.
Celebrating her big day.
Yeah.
She made it to graduation.
And they presented her with a check that they had raised money because they knew she wanted to go to Marine World. And so Wednesday was the graduation, and she made it through there, and she got back into the car that we had, and we took her back to the hospital, and then Saturday morning she passed away, the day of her party. She passed away.
To think of, like, I'm just in awe of the strength of that girl. How bad do you think she felt physically going? She felt like the queen going to her prom because she was, I remember how beautiful she was, her curls, her dress, everything about her is so vivid in my mind. But how was she feeling inside? Like she was so low at that point, health-wise.
Well, she told me before she died, of course, she wouldn't tell me after.
Oh, you're cute.
She was restless, and Chris was doing laundry or something, and she said she couldn't sleep, so she said, go in the bedroom with Daddy. And so she came in with me, and she told me where she wanted to be buried. I had buried her brother 10 days before she died, and that was up in Campbellton. And so she told me she wanted to be buried beside him, and she told me 2 songs that she wanted played at the funeral. And that's probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And it's strange coming from your own child, you know. And sure, Rachel was only 18 years old, but we were blessed for 18 years to have her. And she was a lot older than 18 years because of her state. She touched a lot of people in her short life.
And she had to be so resilient to get through that. I can't even begin to say how much I admire her strength and resilience for a child, and to be able to have that conversation about terminal illness. Like you said, what would be worse in the world than to have to talk about that?
Yeah. Well, when we went to Montreal for one of the operations on her lung, they opened her up and they had to close her right back up again because it was gone too far. So there was no hope after that. This was on a Friday, and we came home, and on the next Saturday there was a big bowling tournament. Rachel just loved to bowl, and there was a 5-string tournament. She bowled 48 boxes out of 50 with that fresh cut.
Wow.
Beyond strong.
Yeah, and the whole place just went crazy again for her, and it was just amazing. I can't say enough about the help that we received.
And those are the feel-good moments you want to, live with, right? Like you need to, like I was saying to Larry offset, how a friend has lost her son Stuart.
Yes.
But she wants to keep his memory alive, and I would think that's what you want to do too.
Yes, we did.
I believe we're all going to meet again. That's my true belief. Whether anyone's watching or not believes that or not, I do have amazing faith. And that I say they've just gotten there ahead of us, too soon, too young, but that we're all heading in the same direction. And
when after Rachel had died, we did a bowling tournament in memory of her for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
nice.
And after 6 years, we just feel like we didn't want to go bumming to businesses for prizes and everything, so we give it up.
Yeah.
So like that showed us that the community cared about how she was in the community here in the Miramichi.
And carrying her honor.
Yeah.
Like it's a way of, I remember Leslie Dixon's mom too with the golf tournament in honor of Leslie, like just keeps bringing her to back again and with us again and honoring them.
Yeah.
We don't have much time left, you two.
No, so I'll ask a little bit about how you grieved though back then. Just I think it'll help some people out there. But so Christina, like back then, everyone grieves differently and handles things differently. But how did you grieve?
Well, for me, I think I was grieving as I was in Montreal with her.
Yeah, of course.
Dealing with all her conditions.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming, but I didn't know when.
Because there were so many things happening.
So many things yes. Yeah. So I think I pretty well agreed with it every day that, someday I'm not going to have my daughter anymore.
Yeah.
So.
And what a realization that must have been for you.
It was. It was hard, three months.
Yeah, I can imagine. Larry, how did you get through it all?
I got through it with the help of family and friends, and new family that we've met through church and different things like that. And I hate to say this, but I did a lot of, I bowled, and I bowled, and I bowled. I worked 2 jobs and bowled 5 nights a week,
You found an outlet.
and just frustration, just
Yeah.
bowl.
Yeah.
And it almost killed me in the end.
Yeah.
But I'm here, and I think we have a purpose, and I know that I can't tell Chris how to grieve, and she can't tell me how to grieve,
Yeah.
because that breaks up families.
Yeah.
You grieve. If you want to go to the graveyard every day, you go to the graveyard every day. If you don't, that's fine. It took our daughter, our oldest daughter, 20 years to get to Rachel's grave.
Really? Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah.
So
Everybody's got their own way.
we all
Yeah.
do our own, yep.
Yeah.
I remember a couple losing their child. She was only 6, and their priest had told them at the time, it will either make your marriage very much stronger or it will break your marriage because of
Two
the.
things.
So you did not ever experience that, oh my gosh, we have to
No.
go our own way because we can't cope. It brought you close.
Yep.
Together.
Yeah.
And we did it because we knew we had another child
Right.
to raise
Yeah.
Yes.
and make a life for her too,
Right. Absolutely.
you know.
And so Trina was how much older than Rachel?
She would have been almost 4 years older than Rachel.
And that's the thing. You want to hide under your covers. You don't want to see a living soul. You just want to be by yourselves and cry and cry and cry. But then you realize there's this other child that you're
Yeah.
a parent to that desperately needs you to be their mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
That must have been
Yeah.
one of the biggest struggles too, is trying to be there for a little girl that's saying, "I
Yeah.
need you," and you don't even want to function. Basically, you can't.
Yeah. Well, she had moved away. She had moved to Moncton, so like she was dealing with
Okay.
it herself.
Right.
And then she'd come home on the weekends or whatever, and we talked. But she really didn't want to talk.
She was 22, about 22 at the time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So she really didn't want to talk. She
Yeah.
just wanted to deal with it on her own.
Yeah.
And it took her 20 years to deal with it.
Yeah.
It does take that long sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
And then that's on my. It must be like a whew off your chest when you do go make that, because then you can go again.
Yeah.
And you can feel like it's a little bit more comfortable to go again, and all of that. I think you're both warriors. Myself, I think it's taken. We'll talk more about brave hearts in the next section, but I think it's very beautiful that people can come on and give hope to people that are watching today, because it's the most impactful, powerful thing that you have to deal with in life is having hope, right? Losing
Yes.
and then hoping.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we don't want anyone to go too far. This show might be, in fact, triggering for a lot of people, and it may be weighing heavy on you too much right now, so that's okay. We always have next week if you want to step back in, but I think you should stay, because I think that Brave Hearts, which we're going to talk about, the support group, is going to be something really important for all of you to learn about. Come back for more with Veronique and I, Christina and Larry Adams, very shortly.
We fought our way through Italy and then headed for Amsterdam, sweeping for Germans along the way. Our worst fear was to catch a bullet in these last hours of the war.
I was 15 when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. More than 100,000 Dutch Jews never came home. Our men were put into forced labor. By 1945, we were starving. The food drops gave us hope. And then the Canadians came.
Before Amsterdam, I couldn't have explained why we were there, all those years away from home, but the Dutch showed us why it mattered.
Papa wanted me to bring some soldiers home to thank them personally. And that's when I first saw Wilf. And I invited him over that afternoon.
Marguerite Blaise married Lieutenant Wilf Gildersleeve. They moved to Vancouver, where they raised 8 children. Today, the Dutch still remember the Canadians who liberated them.
Our family used to be so fun. Now my brother takes care of me. I miss Mom and Dad being around more. Mom says things are going to get better.
Hello and welcome back to our last segment of Have a Chat. I'm your host for today's show, Judy Lozier, joined by my beautiful co-host, who I'm always so comfortable with on set.
Thank you, Judy. I'm so glad to be here.
And I can always count on Veronique. We have that great rapport, which is so wonderful when you're on TV every single Monday of the year together.
Yeah.
We've been talking about something very difficult to talk about, but I think our guests have been doing tremendously well. First of all was Mitchell Linkletter. He's an educator. He's a fine person in our community. Wonderful husband to Shannon, and he lost a son that he dearly loved and has 2 more beautiful children and grandchildren. And now we're talking with the Adams couple, Christina and Larry, and they have a beautiful daughter, Trina, and they lost a beautiful daughter, Rachel, who we want to keep alive. Her memory, we want to share and honor her in every way that we can. So as difficult as this is, you're doing fantastic to be on here to tell our viewers that there is hope and support out there for those who have lost.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when we left off, we were talking about different things, but we want to talk about the realistic part of getting back to what anyone would call normalcy. When and how. How do you go from losing a child and wanting to stay under the blankets for a year and just mourn and not associate with anybody, to actually stepping out into the world again and resuming some kind of contact with people, your job, your activities that you were part of? For you, Larry?
Well, we found that we've been put in the path of people that have lost kids. There's stories that I can tell you about my car driving by itself up the graveyard, and there was a lady there at the grave. Her son had just died, and she was going every day, and we talked to her for an hour and a half and laughed and hugged and cried and didn't know her. And there's others that have come to search us out to see if we could help them, and there's stories that I can tell you about. I wanted to call this guy 3 times. I picked up the phone. I couldn't dial it. And the 3rd time I picked it up, he walked in the door looking for me.
No.
And it's all, and if our grief helps one other person, one other family, one other couple, the whole thing is going to be worth it.
Absolutely.
Just to help one other couple, one other, anybody, you know. We don't think it'll ever go back to normal.
No.
I've never been normal to start with.
Stop it.
But you said you went bowling, right? And that did it. How long before you decided that you wanted to go out and kind of be with other people again?
It took me about 2 weeks to get back.
Okay.
I was off from work for 15 months. I was off for the first 2 months before Rachel died and the month after.
Yeah.
And after she died, like, we had phone calls, people wanted us to go out for supper and go this, and we just wouldn't go anywhere.
No. Yeah.
And then finally I got back out, and once I started to bowl again, I realized that, oh, it feels good to throw that ball.
Yeah.
It feels good to throw the ball, getting more pressure out.
Yeah.
But I bowled away too much, like I neglected my family because I bowled so much.
Yes.
But
it was a distraction.
Well, hope
for
you got a
you.
few. Hope you got a few strikes.
yeah,
I mean, we have to know the record here, Larry. We just sit there throwing balls.
You must have gotten quite good at it.
I was.
Some biceps.
I was, yeah.
Biceps of that.
I was really good, actually, and
Good.
but not so good now anymore. But because I had no passion for it.
No.
Yeah.
Rachel was the passion because she loved to bowl, so like we bowled a lot together, and but once I got back out again, it took a couple of weeks, and then I don't think it ever went back to normal, but like people are still afraid to come up to you. Sometimes they'll see you walking and they'll cross the street, and I know it's because they don't know what to say.
They don't, exactly.
Yeah.
They don't. It's better to say nothing. Like Mitchell said earlier, it's just better just to say hi, Larry, and can I get you coffee or something?
Well, there's nothing worse when you're in the lineup for the funeral and somebody's coming through and say, well, I know what you're going through. And unless they lost a child, there's no way for them to know.
Words mean nothing.
Oh,
really.
and that used to irk me.
Yeah.
And it's funny now that I look back and Now they know it's because they said it because they didn't know what to say.
They didn't know what else to say.
But I mean, there's other things they say too that is just as bad. Like she's in a better place. Well, no,
Yeah.
her better place is home with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things like that you just say, no, that's not how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Larry, I've known you like through Julia, her friend, Rachel's friend, for a long time, and you are a character. Did your, like you said, you'll never be the same again, but did that funny, Larry, witty, you have that spark, you're funny. Did you ever regain any of that, like that
Oh, yeah.
personality? Because you do have it.
I got that back.
You got it back.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you got it back.
It took a while, but it's back.
It's there. You're saucy as ever now.
I'm the same old saucy person I used to be. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it.
Yeah. And you, Christina?
Well, me, I don't know about it'll ever be normal for me either.
Yeah.
Because she was my baby.
Right. Yeah.
So it took me a while to go back to work. Because I know I had to have Trina look after her. And I mean, she was still young. And like I said, some days I say, well, I wasn't here for her. What did I miss? What should I have been here doing for her? But after a while, I know I had to go back to work, and I know that's what kept me going, is to being busy all the time.
Yes.
But she was still in my mind, and she's still in my heart.
Yeah, of course.
And to get to talk to people. As long as they wanted to listen, I can talk.
Yeah.
That's good.
So,
Which brings us to Bravehearts,
Yeah.
which we so want to focus on because the purpose of this show is to share and open up and have people that can empathize. Unfortunately, many people can. That lost a child. That's the sad part about it, is that they know what you're going through, and others that do not. But if, God forbid, it should happen to them and their family and they lose a child, at least they know that Bravehearts is in place. Talk to us about Bravehearts, as Mitchell did, what it meant for each of you and how it's helped you gain that little bit of sense of, closeness to other people that have gone through.
For me, I didn't want to go. Never wanted to go.
No.
And Larry says, well, let's go. We'll go and see what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's go. We'll go see what it's all about. So when you walk in the door, you're welcomed, hugging and saying, glad you're here,
Did you find that harder, though?
Yes.
Because I know, like, just for my own self, in some of the things, not the same, but in some of the grief I've faced, it's almost harder when people,
They're too kind.
when they hug you, because then you start to cry and you don't want to, right?
Yeah, but everybody cries.
Absolutely.
Everybody cries when we're at Bravehearts.
Okay.
It's all tears
There's
of joy.
nobody that does not cry. Everybody does.
Just knowing Darlene and Les from being on the
Yeah.
show, what two beautiful souls are they?
Yeah.
They are in there to take your hand and make you feel
Welcomed into
welcomed
a family.
and that you're part of it, part of their walk, and they're so loving. So you feel that.
Yes.
And this group is not, like, there's no pressure. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to get up. You don't have to anything.
No.
You just go take it in, and if you want to come back, you come back. And we've had people come back and come back and come back, and it's great. And there's a great need for it here on the river.
You're right.
And I've got friends like in Camilton and Moncton and stuff that have lost their kids, and there's no place like that up there.
No.
Like this thing could go global.
I think
because
so.
because there's a need for it. Like we don't have any papers. We're not doctors. We're not psychiatrists. We're just
Human.
people that went through a tragedy.
Yes.
And some tragedies, like I can talk to you about losing my brother, or my brother disappearing, or our house burning down, or mom and dad dying, all this kind of stuff. But there's nothing that matches your daughter. Nothing.
That's what
Nothing. Doesn't even compare.
What people always say. It's your flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And I thought when my mom died
Like-
that I was going to die. But when my daughter,
I mean, they're all flesh and blood, but when you
Mm-hmm.
carry a baby inside your womb and give birth and you become parents, it's just life-changing.
yeah.
Yes.
And then when you lose them, it's life-changing in a whole other way.
But this
Yes.
group, like, you're welcomed and you feel like family. It's that's the main word. Like, you feel like family.
But so how does it work if someone comes in and doesn't say anything? Like you said, someone will just sit there time after time. They're learning and they're growing with the sense that you're giving them of knowing that they're not alone. But what else happens there? Do you have tea? Do you just
I
sit
know.
around and chat about other things? Or?
Well, on the 2-day weekend one, we have a lunch and stuff like that, and there's always tea and cookies and stuff like that. But and you always get a chance to talk to people, and you try to talk to the new ones, and maybe they're not ready to get up and do their talk.
No.
But if they keep coming back, that's helping.
That's right.
They're obviously getting something from
Yes.
it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They know there's support there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not everybody wants to get up in front
No.
of a group,
I never did.
right? Yeah.
I never did.
You know, I mean, Judy and I can get up in front of 1,000 people, no problem. But but to be honest with you, just in my regular life, I find it harder talking one-on-one. So you know, and other people are the opposite, right? They want to be able to do that one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a group that really cares. Like there's no hidden agenda in it. It's here I am. This is me for who I am. And if we can help you, that's what we're there for. And like I said, like we're not doctors or psychologists, nothing. But we know.
Yeah.
In our hearts.
Because you've had to walk
Yeah.
that journey
Yes.
yourself.
Now, like Mitchell said about losing his son, his circumstance was different than ours. Others people's are all like they're all different, and I can understand some, but you know, like when your son goes out the door and says "see you later," or your daughter goes out the door and "see you later," and then something happens. That's a whole different ball game for me.
Yeah.
But if in our situation, if something like that happened to you, then we can talk about that. But I wouldn't dare try to talk about something that I don't understand.
Yeah.
So true, right?
Yeah.
Because, like I said, to so many people, I've lost, you know, little relatives of mine at age 14, my best friend's daughter at 22, another friend's son tragically at 18. I've been with them in their circle, not knowing how they feel, because it's incomparable to what I would feel. But my heart aches so bad that I just want to be there for them. That's all I could do, was be there for them.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can say.
No.
No.
And, you know, one woman said, you know, I must have been a terrible mother to let that happen. Her daughter choked and she couldn't help her. And I said, no, you didn't even know it was happening.
No.
Don't bear that guilt. You weren't even in the room. You didn't even hear it happening.
No.
But there's that guilt, right? So you just try to encourage them and truthfully say that she was the best mother I knew. And that's the honest thing you
Yeah.
can tell people, is that you have no regrets about how you loved your child.
Yeah.
No.
Well, if you talk guilt, like we all feel guilt,
Yeah.
and well, maybe we should have done something different. Maybe she wouldn't have got the cancer. Maybe this. You can't go on what ifs.
You
Yeah.
do
can't,
for a long time, and then you
Yes.
think,
Oh, yes.
oh my gosh, there's not one thing I could have done differently.
because you drive yourself crazy.
You
Yeah.
will.
Yeah,
You
because there's
absolutely
some
will.
days I say to Larry, well, maybe we had to took her to the States. Maybe we could have got better help for her, you know, like that. And I said, well, he says, well, there's nothing we can do now.
No.
Well,
We
there's
did
a-
the best we could.
Yeah, and there's an infinite list of what ifs,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, and or if you know, if you had looked left instead of right one day,
Yeah.
or what, like there's an infinite list of what ifs, and we can't figure those
No.
out.
Can't dwell on that. No.
No.
And I don't mind, you know, I think I was saying to Mitchell off air that this is not a show about politics, sex, or religion. We
No.
just don't allow it. But
No.
personally, I feel that I'm allowed to say that so much of my life and so many losses in my life, which have never been come close to yours, without God in my life, I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah.
And I don't mind expressing my faith and saying that I'm a true believer.
Yeah.
And
I am now.
you
Yeah.
are now.
Yes.
I wasn't when she died, but I am now.
Yeah.
You weren't ever, or do you mean the anger set in when she passed, that you were angry at God, or do you mean that you never followed the church or had belief?
Well, I never really believed. Like
It
I
was
thought
a-
there was something, but it was like my brother became a Christian in 1980, and we thought he went crazy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But Chris and Rachel used to go to church and try to get
And-
me to go, and I wouldn't go.
And then you
Wasn't
got
your
But
thing.
no.
No.
But 2 years after, we did a Crucial weekend and an Alpha weekend, and
Oh, okay.
it changed my life.
Ah,
And
beautiful.
now I know I'm going to see her again.
You will,
So-
and she'll be in her prom dress.
Yes.
She absolutely will.
Yeah.
And her curls, I remember her curls were all done, and I
Yeah.
think that is the most resilient,
Yeah.
you know, little girl that I ever knew. Seriously, we only have a couple of minutes left. Vera, any?
Yeah.
Yeah, just what would you say to anybody out there? Like, what's your word of advice? I guess.
Grieve the way you want to grieve.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you how to grieve. If you get a chance to join a group. Like I know some people don't like that, but the hardest thing to do is to walk in that door for the first time. It was even hard for us.
Yeah.
And if they can get through the door the first time, they're going to get help. I know it.
That's wonderful.
I know it.
Bravehearts, 150 Pleasant Street in Newcastle, which is Miramichi West.
Yeah.
And the big weekend's coming up February 24th, as Mitchell said. And what is the time?
9 to 4.
9 to 4.
9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on
Saturday and
Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, February 24th.
And 25th.
And 25th.
Yep.
So you just walk in, and there's someone at the door to make you feel welcome. Come on in, have a coffee, and sit down.
Yeah.
And everyone's going through the same thing.
Yes.
And you use the group in the way that suits you best, right? Whether
Right.
it be to talk or just to be.
Just sit and talk.
Just to be.
Listen,
listen.
and just listen.
Yeah. I think it's amazing, and we've been lucky enough to have, Darlene and Les on the show, and to have all of you, and and to help us, those of us who have not walked that journey, support all of you in the best way, and like Judy said, it's just to be with you as best we can.
And to thank you for coming on. It's a big thing to come on the show. It's one thing to come on and talk about, something you had done at high school, like an achievement on a team or something. When you're talking about the loss of a child, it's you're at a whole different, unbelievable level. And you did it.
Thank you.
And Mitchell did it so gracefully and powerfully, and I know our watchers will be impressed with your strength, because you couldn't have done this 10 years ago.
Oh, no.
No. But for any of our viewers watching, I do want to give a beautiful shout out to Darlene Summers and Les Guinness. They are tremendous individuals, as are all of our guests today, and they encourage you to join Bravehearts if you ever feel the need to be surrounded by people who know your journey, that have walked your walk, that it's a group in place to support for those who've lost a child. So again, thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
And Larry and Veronique, of course, for being on with us, and all of you for tuning in, and have a wonderful, blessed, safe week. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Psychologists are here to help. They approach life challenges with curiosity, compassion, and no judgment. They seek to understand human nature through science to guide what we know about the things that shape how we think and why we feel and act the way we do. Psychologists go through extensive training, allowing them to assess and diagnose mental health problems and help people understand themselves and their situations better. They provide evidence-based psychological prevention, intervention, and consultation services. Psychologists are responsive to the challenges of our time and are here to help you face them so you can live a more balanced life that lines up with your values. People walk many paths in life. None have to be walked alone.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
This is a perfectly healthy child. What's unhealthy are birth alerts, a racist practice that may stop this Indigenous mother from going home with her newborn.